It's happening faster than anyone expected, and right now, Sam Heughan is either on the edge of winning, or losing everything by a margin so small it's almost unreal. In the latest update from the Best Actor 2026 race, the numbers show a gap so tight that a single wave of votes could completely flip the outcome. This isn't weeks away, this isn't distant speculation, this is happening now, in real time. And for the first time, fans are realizing something critical. This victory might not be decided by critics or judges, but by them. The Best Actor category this year isn't just competitive, it's brutal. With multiple high-profile nominees, each backed by massive fanbases and industry support, the race has turned into one of the most unpredictable in recent years. Some contenders come with blockbuster performances, others with critically acclaimed roles that have dominated headlines. And right in the middle of it all stands Sam Heughan, respected, consistent, and finally being recognized on a level many fans have believed he deserved for years. But recognition alone isn't enough this time. Early projections suggested he was a strong contender, even a potential frontrunner, but recent shifts in voting patterns have changed everything. Reports indicate that another nominee has begun gaining momentum at an alarming pace, closing the gap and threatening to overtake him at the worst possible moment. What once felt like a steady climb toward victory now feels like a race against time. That's when the fan response began, and it didn't happen quietly. Within hours of the updated rankings circulating online, fan communities mobilized with a level of urgency rarely seen outside of major global events. Voting guides were shared, step-by-step instructions spread across platforms, and hashtags began trending as supporters called on each other to act immediately. This wasn't just support anymore, it became a coordinated effort. Across different time zones, fans started organizing shifts, ensuring that voting activity wouldn't slow down at any point. Some stayed up through the night, refreshing pages, casting votes repeatedly, and encouraging others to do the same. Group chats, forums, and fan pages turned into real-time command centers, tracking progress and reacting instantly to any changes. The energy was intense, almost overwhelming, but it carried a clear message: this was a moment that couldn't be missed. What makes this situation even more intense is how little margin there is for error. Unlike traditional awards where outcomes feel distant and untouchable, this process feels immediate and fragile. A few thousand votes in one direction could secure a lead, or erase it completely. And that reality has created a sense of pressure that's impossible to ignore, even for casual fans who weren't initially planning to participate. Then came the twist that pushed everything into overdrive. New data suggested that the leading competitor wasn't just catching up, they were accelerating, backed by their own rapidly growing campaign. Suddenly, what felt like a close race turned into a potential upset in the making. The possibility that Sam could lose in the final stretch, after coming so far, became very real, and that fear ignited an even stronger reaction. Fans who had been quietly supporting from the sidelines began stepping forward, sharing the voting links, urging friends and followers to join in, and emphasizing just how critical this moment was. Messages shifted from hopeful encouragement to urgent calls for action, with one consistent theme repeating everywhere: every single vote matters. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, but literally. And yet, through all of this, one thing remains unchanged: Sam himself has stayed silent. No direct appeal, no public push, no visible involvement in the campaign that is unfolding in his name. For some, that silence adds to the urgency, as if the responsibility has fully shifted onto the fans. For others, it makes the moment feel even more genuine, as if this isn't about promotion, but about recognition earned and defended by those who believe in him. Now, the race has reached a point where hesitation could cost everything. The gap is closing, the competition is intensifying, and the window to act is narrowing by the hour. This isn't just another award anymore, it's a test of how far a community is willing to go when the outcome is still within reach. Because in a race this close, history doesn't wait. It's decided by those who show up, and those who don't. What started as urgency has now turned into something much bigger. A global wave of determination that refuses to slow down. As the voting enters its most critical phase, fans from different countries are no longer acting separately but moving almost in sync, driven by a shared goal that feels personal. It's no longer just about supporting an actor they admire, but about proving that their voices can actually shape an outcome that once felt out of reach. And in that shift, something powerful has emerged. Across platforms, the campaign has evolved from simple reminders into a full-scale movement. Dedicated pages are tracking vote counts in real time, while fan leaders coordinate efforts to maximize impact during peak hours. Some are translating voting instructions into multiple languages, ensuring that no supporter is left behind simply because of a barrier. Others are creating emotional edits, highlighting Sam's journey, reminding people not just why he deserves to win, but why this moment matters now more than ever. Because for many fans, this isn't just about a title. It's about recognition that feels long overdue. They remember the years of consistent performances, the dedication to roles that didn't always receive the spotlight they deserved, and the quiet persistence that defined his career. In their eyes, this award represents something deeper, a chance to finally align public acknowledgement with what they've believed all along. And as that belief spreads, the numbers begin to reflect it. Reports suggest a sudden surge in votes coming from unexpected regions, places where the campaign only recently began gaining traction. It's not a steady climb anymore, it's a rapid escalation, the kind that can shift rankings in a matter of hours. But even with that momentum, the outcome remains uncertain, and that uncertainty is what keeps the pressure alive. Because the competition hasn't stopped either. Rival campaigns are pushing just as hard, matching energy with energy, turning this into a true battle of communities rather than individuals. Every gain on one side is met with a response from the other, creating a cycle of momentum that feels almost impossible to predict. And in that back and forth, one thing becomes clear: this will likely come down to the very last moment. That's where the emotional weight begins to intensify. Fans aren't just voting, they're investing time, energy, and belief into something that feels bigger than a simple result. Messages become more personal, more urgent, as people share why they care, why they've stayed, and why they're choosing to act now. It's no longer about convincing others, it's about reminding each other what's at stake. And still, Sam remains silent, almost like a constant in the middle of all this chaos. He hasn't stepped in to guide the narrative or push the campaign forward, and in a strange way, that absence has made the movement feel even more authentic. This isn't driven by promotion or obligation, it's driven by choice. By people deciding, on their own, that this moment is worth showing up for. Now, everything comes down to what happens next. The gap can still shift, the rankings can still change, and the final outcome is still unwritten. But one thing is certain: the difference will be made by those who choose to act while there is still time. Not later, not eventually, but now. Because in a race like this, there are no spectators. You either become part of the moment, or you watch it pass you by. And still, Sam remains silent, almost like a constant in the middle of all this chaos. He hasn't stepped in to guide the narrative or push the campaign forward, and in a strange way, that absence has made the movement feel even more authentic. This isn't driven by promotion or obligation, it's driven by choice. By people deciding, on their own, that this moment is worth showing up for. Now, everything comes down to what happens next. The gap can still shift, the rankings can still change, and the final outcome is still unwritten. But one thing is certain: the difference will be made by those who choose to act while there is still time. Not later, not eventually, but now. Because in a race like this, there are no spectators. You either become part of the moment, or you watch it pass you by. Now, everything comes down to what happens next. The gap can still shift, the rankings can still change, and the final outcome is still unwritten. But one thing is certain: the difference will be made by those who choose to act while there is still time. Not later, not eventually, but now.